Greetings, programmers. Busted Thumbs back again. We're going to work on episode 9 now of our Music Player Studio. And where we had been off, in our last episode, we've been working on our Music Player Sprite. Our Music Player Sprite is the one responsible for playing the music. A couple episodes ago, we had it playing music, but it could only play one song at a time. And so in the last episode, we split that player up. And we made sure that when new music is loaded, we got rid of all of our clones and we made new clones, each one representing an instrument, one of these four instruments that we're going to work with. And since each of these is a list, it's actually both the instrument and one of the lines inside of that instrument set of music. Okay. That means since the last one's all done, we've got all these clones in place, and we now have them all set up and ready to play music. But we know that when we play music, it's going to come in here. They're all going to get this event to play music, and they're all going to do the right thing here, which is to read the next note and then play that note. Unfortunately, our read to value, which we had down here, was assuming that we were working with music index 1 and working on music instrument 1. And now that we have those things, which instrument we should be working with, based on these guys, we need to start doing this so that they respect their instrument index and their instrument list index, rather than trying to just do working against one thing. So we are going to start over again. We're going to go ahead and set that temp reading value to blank like we were doing before. Now in this case, unfortunately, Scratch doesn't let you just kind of say, hey, assign this list to a variable and work with it. So we're going to actually have to do some if statements to switch on our instrument index. Because basically we have to look at my instrument index in order to know which list we're going to be working with. So inside here, we're going to do something much like we did here before, and this is telling us that we work with music instrument number 1. But we don't have a music index anymore. Instead, what we've been using is our music reading index. So we're going to read our music reading index of music instrument 1 and check it to see if it's value. If it's not, then we're going to go ahead and, if it's not that value, we need to read that value. So that means we need to join in that item, which we're not using that anymore. We're using the music reading index. And again, now remember too that we need to know which list item that we're working from, and that is this guy here, my instrument list index. And all of that goes from music instrument 1 because that's what we checked up here. Okay. Then we need to replace. No, this is no longer a list item, so we just simply need to set it, or actually just change it. This is our music reading index. Right there, we need to change that by 1. And then when we get to the bottom here, we need to make sure we're doing the same thing, which is to change the music reading index by 1. Okay. Now that works for instrument number 1. Unfortunately, we have to repeat this for each one of those instruments. So I'm going to just have to duplicate this and do it again because we have 4 of them. And I wish there was a nicer way that I could abstract this so that I only have to do this once, but in Scratch there really isn't. The only thing I need to change here is to make that 2, make that 2, and make that 2, and then just keep doing that. 3, 3, 3, and this one 4, 4, and 4. Okay. So this is doing exactly what it did before, only now it's working with the values that we set inside of our instrument index and our instrument list index, and instead of using the list, it's using the music reading index. All right, so now I believe that when we play this guy, what it should do is both, we have two clones, or we should, assuming everything's worked right. We should have one clone for the first line of music instrument 1 and one clone for the first line of music instrument 2. Both of those should now get the play current music when that little piano button's clicked, and they should start reading through and playing their notes based on their own set of data, their accompaniment and the melody. Who knows? There may be bugs in all of this, but let's give it a try. So we come in, we twinkle twinkle little star. Oh, and my piano button didn't show up, so why did that not happen? So this guy should have shown when I saw, oh, this guy is set to the wrong thing. This should be when the selection screen comes, he should hide. Okay, let's try again. Okay, good. I mean, it sounds like we didn't get both sets of players playing, but one good thing happened, and that is that the music is still playing. So this is working, at least on instrument number 1. So that makes me wonder what happened to our clones, and were the clones really being created? And it's hard to tell because Scratch doesn't have a good way of showing all the clones. So we're going to have to resort to a debug message. And one that will be able to fill in our particular message here to tell us exactly what's going on. I want to make sure that the clones are actually being created. So basically what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and clear out the debug message right before I go into here. I'm going to make sure the debug message is empty. Actually, I know that 1.1 exists. So I'm going to say that 1.1 exists. And then when I start as a clone, I'm going to change that. I'm going to go ahead and set debug message to a join of the current debug message, as well as the information we just saw here. So there's going to be a few joins here. Join, join, join. Have a semicolon at the end and a comma. And then inside of there, I want to put my instrument index and my instrument list index. Now, so what this should be doing is that when the clone gets started up, it's going to add to the debug message. This should essentially be 2 and 1, because our second instrument should have a line inside of it, and we should have a clone that gets created for 2 and 1. So our debug message, I'm expecting this to say 1.1 semicolon 2.1, but since we know the music's not playing, that this may not be the case. But let's go ahead and check it. Click on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and it looks like it's got 1.1, it's got 1.2, it's got 2.1, and it's got 2.2. So it has too many things in it. I'll get that bigger so you can see. 1.1, 1.2, 2.1, and 2.2. Okay, so we have a bug for sure. Let's see why that is. Here I want to repeat for the length of music instrument 1, so I want this to come in 1. The index starts at 0. The length of a music instrument 1 is 1. There's just, oh no, it's length 2. Oh, that's the problem. There's a blank thing inside of there. And it looks like music for instrument 2 might also be 2. Okay, so that's the first bug we need to fix. When we're copying over the music, it's making a mistake. And the guy who copies over the music is this guy. So the first thing it should do it looks like it's not deleting the stuff that's inside of the music for instrument 1. Ah, because clear current music was never written. Okay. And really, that should happen inside clear current music. So I think this is one of those things that I meant to do later on and never got around to it, and then I ended up forgetting all about it. So let's go back to stage and let's make sure we handle that. Oh no, clear current music is here. Okay. Maybe I did do it. All right, so the music instrument for instrument 1, 2, 3, and 4 should have been cleared because that happens here. Then we come in here and we added a blank one to music for instrument 1. Then we just replaced item 1. We didn't add to it. Oh, this is the problem. This was meant to be instruments right there. So let's go back and we should get to the point where the debug message now should do the right thing. Okay, so I have a clone of 1, 1 and I have a clone of 2, 1. But still, 2, 1 is, the accompaniment is not playing, even though the melody is. All right, so at least we've eliminated one of the problems. We do have our clones. All right, the next thing to check is that both of the clones are playing. So let's make sure that that's happening. So in the beginning here, when I'm setting my variables, I'm going to clear out the debug message again. Go ahead and make sure that the debug message is empty. And here, I'm going to set the debug message to a join of the debug message. Oh, and I see what the problem is. I don't even need to debug this. You see what we've done here? Right here, we're always we're looking at music instrument 1. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I'm seeing it as I'm just looking at it. Where it's probably what's happening now is that they're both not doing the right thing. Because this condition was done before we made our clones, we're looking at the wrong thing, right? So what we want to do instead, get rid of these guys. We want to be checking our music reading index. Which is this guy right here. And unfortunately, we're going to have to do that same thing we did before with the if statements. We're going to have to make sure we're looking at the instrument index. When it's equal to 1, that's when we want to do the stuff for list 1. Okay, so here, if the instrument index is 1, we want to look at the music, this guy, the item of the list index for music instrument 1, and then read that note. And we're going to want to do that. We don't need those over and again. Over. Unfortunately, we have to do the same. Oh, and you know what? I have to put those if statements in as well. So let's try this again. We actually needed to duplicate on the if statement. One, 2, 3, and 4. And what we're going to check for is 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to read in that note and then we're going to play it. Now this still may not work, but we're getting low on time again, so let's go ahead and see where we're at the results of this one. Go into Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and give it a... Okay, good. Well, we fixed one problem, came up with another. They were both playing, as you probably heard. They were both playing their a note, both the accompaniment and the melody, but they only played the first note. But that's okay. We got to one goal of what we wanted to do here, and that was to make sure that our clones were all playing the music that they should be playing. We'll fix up the problem so that they're playing to the end as we get to the next recording. And so I will see you on that side, and we'll have the whole music playing, I think. All right, see you around. Bye-bye.